Greetings and welcome back to Factorio. I'm KatherineOfSky, the Belt Diva. So, after killing all of those aliens in the last episode, here I am back in the next one. And we are just going back up to collect our giant train. And basically drive it down to where we need to be next and build the next wall. I cleared out all those bases so we could do a wall on the eastern side of this area. And looks like I missed my stop and I have to reverse a bit so I can get this train track moving along in the right direction. I go ahead and put down the straight rail and I decide to do the intersection properly later when I come back. I figure it's better just to get everything finished and then finish that last bit when I get to it. So I go ahead and basically put stuff in the train, grab some rails and signals so that my robots can continue to construct stuff, and we just kind of go along blueprinting and robot constructing as we go. It's a pretty decent substitute for Farl, and it goes very, very quickly, as you can see. So I'm kind of looking at where do I want to put this wall, how do I want to put it, especially to take advantage of the terrain and the water the way it is. So I decide to go ahead and go pretty far down into this lake, so we eliminate some of the vertical space, but eventually that kind of bites me back, and I wish I hadn't gone quite that far, but at least we're going to have enough room for mining on that copper patch and a station and stuff like that. As always, my my station is always in the room of the signals, so I have to go ahead and redo that. I drop off some stuff and then put the train in the turnaround so it's easier to get out again. And I go ahead and grab the walls and the lasers so that I can start placing them, or get my robots to start placing them down for me so that we can basically do this massive wall that's going to have to happen here. And looks like we have a biter coming up, but the lasers dispatch it very, very quickly. I get rid of this forest because I don't like the trees between my, like the lasers and the wall, and messing with the substations. It's much easier to move around physically for the character if there's not all that stuff. I'll go ahead and complete this corner as I'm getting my robots to go ahead and place these walls and turrets for me. And it takes a while, and of course they're all, you know, gathering wood and doing stuff, so it's a little bit of a process, but that's okay. We get to it eventually. Yeah, my intention originally was just to go straight up with this wall, but I went a little bit too far to the right, as you can see in the mini-map, and I end up having to make this turn. However, this area is big enough for solar panels, so if we want to add them here, that's another option for us in case we need more power later. I'm not quite sure where we are on power, but I will definitely check it in the next time we do an episode. Or next time I record, I should say. So here I am going ahead and adding these roboports. Very important to keep the walls nice and protected, and, well, basically protected from over, what do you call it? Being destroyed, being over damaged, and basically replacing anything that needs to, walls, lasers, whatever, if something should get destroyed. So I go ahead and just add those before I change blueprints again and get my walls out and get those guys placed down. And I know that this is an inward corner, but it really can't be helped, so I just go ahead and place it anyway, and it should be fine. I go ahead and connect things, make sure I get rid of those extra lasers and connect things with the larger power poles so nothing is blinking. And then I'm wondering, why the heck do we not have lights? And there's all these blinky things. It's like, what the heck are those blinky things? And I realize, okay, yes, we're missing illumination. That's what we're lacking at the moment. So I do go back to the train and go and grab those, but not before putting down a couple of radars, which I forgot in the last episode to put on those other walls in the west and the northern part. So I go ahead and get these lights in my inventory and go back to get them all situated. I ran out of materials for those inserters. It annoys me a bit because it's such a piddly thing to have to go back to the base for. It's like, oh no, I have to go back just for inserters. But my inventory is so empty of raw materials, it really couldn't be helped. So that's one of the things I'm going to have to do next. And I go out and kill these close by biters just because they're a little bit too threatening being right on the edge of my wall. So I go ahead and replace the wall and then go back to the train. I end up using a significant amount of the walls that I've gathered in the train. I'm really glad that I have as many as I do so I don't have to go back to the base and get stuff. I name the station appropriately and put the materials back in the train, the ones that I'm not needing, so that I can go back to the base, and basically so the train doesn't have to get overloaded and my stuff, my own inventory, doesn't get overloaded. So this is where I'm going ahead and getting that train, the wall train, to come over to these stations, basically putting them in order so that they can start supplying these wall stations with materials in case the biters should attack and things need to be replaced or repaired, whatever. So I'm just kind of setting that up before I move to the next part. Excuse me. So here is where I go ahead and add the proper intersection here so that the trains can go either way and they're all available. And then I go ahead and signal the area as well. Putting in all the chain signals where appropriate. Remember, chain signals, when you have a crossing, you put them prior to the crossing, and then you also put regular signals after the crossing to tell the train it's safe to go. And now everything has been fully enclosed. This is really exciting. And I tried to do this trick of double-clicking a name from the station list to try to change it because my my western northwestern wall station has a dash in the name and it annoys me. And I try to click it and it doesn't work. So I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong there, but I'll try to figure that out later. Here I am just destroying this inner wall because it is no longer needed to defend from biters. So I just go ahead and take it out and go ahead and grab all of the roboports, all the stuff, the chests here that I needed to put down so that the robots could deconstruct stuff and all that kind of thing. And I put stuff back in the train just to recycle stuff a little bit. And some of the robots from the roboports help. It's not much help. I think there's like 2 or 3 robots left in this tiny little network. But they do end up putting some stuff in the chest. So I pick that up and I pick up all the excess power poles, put stuff back in the train, kind of organize it a bit so I can be on my way. And I decided to take the 2 engines off the front so I wouldn't have to deal with that when I got back to the base. And then I'm just organizing the auto trash as I'm kind of riding down along in this very, very long train ride. It's beginning to get quite extensive, but it is very scenic at the same time. So I do enjoy riding the trains this way because you get to see how much has been accomplished. It's like, wow, how did all this get built? Did that somehow magically happen, or did I do that myself? And I know no one else has been touching my save, so it must have been me at some point or another. But anyway, I get the train back to the world, and I go ahead and let stuff get emptied from my inventory, and I think I add a couple of things, the filter inserters among them, and possibly a radar as well. There we are. Adding those guys so that they get added to the train. And I organized the power poles a little bit better. I think they got a little bit messed up in some fashion, and I didn't do them properly. So I just go ahead and change them around here and try to get the chests better organized so we have maximum input should we need it. And I also balance my logistics requests somewhat because now that I have the train, I really don't need a lot of other stuff. So I'm going ahead and obviously the train has been filled with all of these items now. So I just put some of the excess stuff in the chests to be filled at another time. So I go ahead and I look and okay, I realize, yes, we actually cannot, that station cannot function there and will therefore be in grave danger from biters until I go and put down those inserters. So I get in a teeny tiny little train, i.e. just one locomotive, and speed off to that area and go ahead and so my robots can put down those inserters and have the station be complete. So it's actually a very, very quick ride in this tiny little engine, and so I'm quite happy about that. So we go back to the base, and it's a very odd little detour, but an absolutely necessary one if we want the base to be properly protected. I noticed some other issues here with downed trees, and I realized that just by replacing the blueprint, I can order deconstruction of those trees and stuff like that. So it's a pretty quick fix. But it's this great, I don't know, here's a rock that didn't get deconstructed. It's a very strange thing how sometimes I think it has to do with the overlapping, like if it doesn't overlap the entirety of the object, it doesn't deconstruct it or something like that, or the robots can't access it. So anyway, that's going to help our power grid, if even only slightly. Obviously, we have tons of stuff. And here I find a train jam at oil, which is weird. Why do we have a train jam at oil? And it turns out that I forgot to hook up the conditions of that last combinator to the other one. Yes, they were not going to the pump, and so the pump was never reaching 3 blue squares. So basically, lubricant had completely filled up, or not lubricant, but heavy oil was completely full and nothing was cracking, and it therefore shut down oil. So after seeing that some of these places had no green circuits, I'm like, what's going on? And something odd indeed has happened, because iron plates have made their way into the trains. I don't know what caused this problem. I have no idea, but it's obviously some kind of either an item explosion happened, or somehow a piece of iron ore got caught on the belt somehow. I don't really know how that's happening, and also I noticed there's no copper coming in from trains. It's like, what the heck's going on? So I go ahead and investigate this problem. I replace this miner just to get that teeny last bit of copper from the ore deposits that were butting up against each other. So I go here and try to figure out why, and again, the revenge of the copper, and I'm looking along the lines, where could this copper be coming from? But I just don't see it. And it occurs to me maybe it's an overlapping patch where you don't necessarily see the copper, so I kind of look in a lot of them and I don't see it. So I just take the copper out of the trains and the chests in hopes that it'll solve itself a little bit. And I decide, you know what, I've had enough of this. We are only going to use these filter inserters, and we're only going to let in the copper ore. Forget all of this, not copper, but iron ore, because any introduction of copper is basically a single unit, and the trains are not allowed to move. And here we have a belt stuck in a train. All kinds of weirdness is going on over here. So anyway, but it's dealt with, which is a good thing. So hopefully we won't have to see this problem again. I definitely will be wary on future playthroughs with the copper ore, like mixed ore deposits, because this has been a severely annoying problem. So I decide to go down to green circuits and see how things are going there. They look pretty good. There's nothing to be concerned about. Of course, I'm wreaking havoc in my driving of this particular locomotive, running into all and sundry. But I make it out safely without managing to destroy stuff, so that's a good thing. So I decide to increase our copper supply over there and get rid of stuff in my inventory so I can go on a little building expedition without taking the giant train with me. I feel like it's too much for the moment, so I go ahead and take a bunch of modules and stuff because I want to connect up some of these tiny little copper patches that I had ignored for some reason, and send that copper directly into the copper smelting area. So I make my way down and go ahead and find the proper blueprint that I need, and this one ends up being a little too big, just slightly too big. So I get the smaller version and place it down. And just kind of like clean up the edges and stuff like that so we can make sure we can get what we want. Just adding splitters here and there to get the ore going. Remember, all of these drills have productivity modules in them, so they produce at a much, much slower rate. So one blue belt is more than enough to take care of those 3 lines. So here is the other copper patch that I wanted to deal with. And just basically get mining going on. There's no reason to waste this area. It's a really nice little patch, even though it's been kind of overcrowded by the water. So I just place the miners carefully along how they need to go to let just get the belts going there. And I go ahead and just add these miners wherever I can on the sides. So that we can have a decently functioning mining base here. And I connected the belts with splitters and stuff, so everything kind of gets mixed in evenly and it all works very nicely. So we can have this stuff being, you know, just fed in. It's extra production without much effort, which is kind of nice. So at first I decide to just do a single line here. And see how it flows through, what kind of a throughput we're going to get. And I add power poles just to make sure things are connected up. Some of the things are not being placed, those modules particularly, because I can't remember if I run out of modules or basically it's waiting on the Roboport network, because it is actually within the main Roboport network in that spot. So here's the, I connect up the first belt here to the smelter area things, and then I decide, well, you know, we're having a lot of traffic, so I add another belt, which in retrospect is probably not necessary, because what's happening is these lines are getting blocked because of the fullness from the train line importing. So that's what's happening there. I think the blue belts are more than enough capacity for those few miners with all the productivity modules. So anyway, that is that. And I decided to change the train signals here because there was one train waiting for no reason. So I decided to just make them all chain signals instead of having this strange little signal on the side that didn't really work very well. And again, I find another iron plate. So I decide, okay, we've had enough here. We need to go back to the base, pick up some more of the stack inserters, so I can change this to only load copper plates onto trains. It looks like those filter inserters are going to be necessary at all kinds of train stations, just to make sure nothing gets mixed. Because that is one heck of a pain in the socks. It really is. Because if you let it go, it can cause problems further down the line, of course. So anyway, I get my stack filter inserters and make my way back down here. Empty out some excess ore that I had, and I realized that these beacons are not powered. I can't believe it. So I just go ahead and add some power lines there, power poles, to get them on their merry way. And I decide to just go ahead and I'm going to program one side of these inserters and then just get the rest with robots. Just copy them, paste them all down, and we'll have a grand old time with that. It's a lot easier than copy pasting to all those inserters. And I didn't feel like wiring this time because I didn't see any future use for it. Well, maybe there will be, maybe not. I don't know. But it didn't seem necessary at the time. So I go back to the base and let's see, what do I do? You know what? I forgot what I'm doing next. But I think I'm just standing here and waiting for my exit to happen. So thank you so very much for joining me. I will see you in the next episode. Take care of yourselves and each other. See you next time.